Okay, Princess. Hi Martin, regarding the superannuation policy as financial evidence, is it really necessary to choose the binding death benefit nomination type agreement? Princess, I can't go into the specifics of different types of superannuation policies and the different types of options when it comes to nominating partners as beneficiaries. You have to have that conversation with the super provider. If you're asking me, is it compulsory to have changed your beneficiaries to each other for your super policies? No, it's not compulsory. The visa is not going to be refused because you don't have it. It's just about having as many things as you can prior to application. Changing your super beneficiaries is just one type of document that we suggest to couples. We suggest it to couples. It's not necessarily that it's mandatory. So really, it's at the end of the day, it depends on how comfortable a couple is to action this advice and to organize those types of documents prior to application. Lavanya, hi Martin, do offshore partner visas still in processing? Yes, they're still in processing. Yes, processing has slowed. Are they still being granted? Yes, they're still being granted, specifically the offshore 309-100s. Prospective marriage visas, from what we understand, are not being granted at the moment, but that doesn't mean they're not being processed, and it doesn't mean you can't apply. Princess, can I submit my police clearance overseas after I lodge my visa application? Yes, we typically organize police clearances when they're requested. Princess, we don't organize police clearances prior to lodgement or during processing because we just don't know when the case is going to open, and police clearances can expire. So it's up to you when you organize your clearances, but for our clients, we wait until they're formally requested by the department or the consulate or embassy if it's an offshore application. That way we avoid clearances expiring and the client needing to spend more money in organizing the document again. Monse, hi Martin. Is it possible to lodge a valid partner visa onshore if the applicant holds a BVA? Does Schedule 3 apply? Monse, yes, you can submit a valid partner visa application if the applicant holds a BVA. Does Schedule 3 apply? Yes, Schedule 3 will apply, which is something that should be avoided if possible. Monse, I suppose just to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, if you Google search Schedule 3 waiver and then our name, Salvo Migration, you'll find a blog that we wrote on Schedule 3 waivers a few years ago. The laws haven't changed in terms of how Schedule 3 is assessed, so it's still relevant today, but it goes into a lot more detail. So please Google Schedule 3 waiver, Salvo Migration, you'll find the blog, and hopefully that will help you. Jessa, thank you for answering my question earlier, man. I have one more quick question. Is the Form 888 limited to Australian citizens only? No, it is not. Jessa, I'm not sure if you know, but if you elect to purchase our Perfect Relationship Statement Guide and Template Pack, which looks like that document, which looks like this, okay? When people purchase this, there is an option to add our Form 888 swipe file, which includes 15 examples of completed Form 888s that you can give to your friends and family, which ensures that they write their Form 888s quicker and faster. You get them back faster because they know how to write them. Included in the Form 888 swipe file as of this week is a video where I answer the 10 or so most common questions about Form 888s. So the video itself goes for about 10 minutes, and all I do is I sit there and I answer questions about Form 888s. That being one of them, but there's others as well. For anyone that has already purchased this resource, the Relationship Statement Guide and Template Pack and the Form 888 swipe file, if you go into your Access Zone account, you will find the Form 888 training video in your Access Zone. So you'll see the video. It comes with a transcript, so you can actually read the questions. So if you don't want to watch the video, you just want to read my answers, you can read the answers. It also comes with an audio file. So if you don't want to watch the video, if you don't want to read the answers, but you want to listen to it on your drive to work or wherever you're driving to, you can. So if you've already purchased the Form 888, please have a look at your Access Zone account. If you can't see it there, please send me a message on Facebook and we'll get it unlocked. It's just a matter of changing the back-end system. But like I said, for anyone who purchases a resource from today onwards or from this week onwards, it includes the FAQ video. But to answer your question, Jessa, it can be completed by people overseas, but I go into more detail in that resource and in that FAQ. Natalia, thank you so much for answering. My pleasure, Natalia. Hope it helps. Dilpreet. Hi, man. I've applied for the 820-801. It's been 18 months. Do you know the processing time? Dilpreet, I can't tell you the processing time for your particular application. What I would suggest as the best starting point is to have a look inside your IMI account and have a look at your application. It'll tell you an estimate. Keyword, estimate. Okay, it's not a guarantee it's going to take that long. It's just an estimate. Travis, what happens if you reach the 100 uploads? The government systems explode and it all goes away. No, Travis, I'm joking. One way around, okay, let's say a little hack around the 100 document upload is that you can upload the, any subsequent evidence to the sponsorship application form. So there's two applications really that are submitted, the visa and the sponsorship. We always just attach our documentation to the visa form, but the sponsorship form does allow relationship evidence and documents to be attached. So if you want to get it to the department, you can attach on the sponsorship form. I'm not saying that is advisable in all cases. It's just really if you've run out of room. The alternative is to email your documents to the department. And that's another way that they will attach it themselves internally. Is there something about that the sponsor has to be usually resident in Australia? I've lived there since 2017, so I'm not usually resident. Therefore, it is better to go onshore 820 with NAVs to meet being usually resident. Joanne, if you're an Australian citizen, there isn't a requirement that you are usually resident in Australia. If you're a permanent resident, if you're an Australian permanent resident and you're overseas, then yes, you need to meet the definition of usually resident, and there isn't a legal definition. So the simplest kind of answer to that is if you're a citizen, you don't need to worry about it. If you're an Australian permanent resident, it is relevant. Eva, hello Martin. Any ideas what I can use as evidence when de facto relationships started? I put date we moved in together, but I don't have any messages and I'm not on the lease. Maybe written statement from our flatmate. If we're talking about evidence in terms of your cohabitation, Eva, so when you started living together with your partner, but you were not on the lease, then yes, you can get statements from others that live there. If the landlord or the real estate agency were aware that you were living there or you were an approved guest on the lease, you can get a statement from the landlord or tenant. If you have mail that was addressed to you at that address, you can provide that mail. So those are typically the types of documents that couples can provide to show that they were cohabitating where there wasn't necessarily a formal lease agreement where both parties, were listed. For more examples, for more training, Eva, please attend our Partner Visa Secrets live training on the 27th of July. There's a link to join the training group. It's a separate Facebook group where we host the training, and it kicks off on the 27th of July. We'll go over cohabitation in a lot more detail during that training, which is also free, just so everyone is aware. Hassana. Hello man, I submitted my 820 in April 2019 and they had just asked me to prove further evidence of our relationship. I submitted messages from May 2019 to now, first page of our joint account statements, May 2019 to now, pictures of our household, statements of our household situation, pictures of documents of our travel trips together from April last year to now. Is there anything else you'd suggest for us to upload? Hassan, I can't give direct advice in terms of the types of documents all couples or that you can provide to respond to a request for information. I need to understand all of your relationship facts and complete timeline to be able to give you that type of advice, Hassan. It also depends on what they've asked for. Are they asking for evidence since lodgement, or are they asking for more evidence prior to lodgement? Are they still worried about whether or not you were de facto at the time of application, or are they just looking to confirm that you're still in a relationship? So what the request really is, what your facts are, would dictate the type of information that you would be looking to provide or needing to provide. If I were to try to give you some direction right now, Hasana, some kind of general overview, it's, again, you just want to make sure that you're touching on all 4 aspects, and just make sure that you've given them everything that you can that shows the 4 aspects before you apply for the visa. So what happened before and after. So don't just focus since lodgement. So it sounds like from May, everything you were providing was from May 2019 onwards. Make sure that you strengthen what your facts were at the time of application. Just to be safe, because that might be what they're asking. Cecilia. Hi man, just wonder if it's advisable to send email to IMI to speed up the application for subclass A20. Can't send my son's school overseas because of Education Queensland international fees. My son and I are on bridging visa, and my husband is an Australian citizen. Cecilia, I suppose every couple wants their application prioritized. Every couple feels that their facts warrant their relationship or application to be prioritized over the next. So that's just the first thing to understand. The second thing to understand is that there are thousands of people on bridging visas waiting for partner visas. So you have to understand the reality of the situation. Is it advisable to send emails to the department? It's not going to jeopardize your application. So emailing the department, asking them, trying to put a bit of pressure on them, shouldn't necessarily negatively impact your application. But what I can tell you is that 99% of the times, those types of requests for priority processing or updates or trying to move things along are likely ignored, or you'll just get a generic response back. Every now and then, you hear of some couples emailing the department and then their application is approved not long thereafter. However, there's no way to necessarily prove that it was because of their email or just coincidentally because their application was already in the queue to be approved. So, just understand all of those facts. So I suppose I can't say whether or not it is advisable. What I can say is it's probably not going to hurt, but I just wouldn't get my hopes up. But certainly, you can explain the fact that there's a child. Whenever there's children in the scenario, that typically influences the department. So that's certainly something to bring to their attention. Provide evidence of the child's enrollment and try to, I suppose, show some compelling facts in your case that may differentiate you from the other, 10, 20,000 that are waiting for similar application types. Hasana. Hi man, I've seen people commenting in partner visa Facebook groups and emailing IMI politely, asking them for an update, that they usually get some type of response. Most of them had been waiting for over 12 months though. Hasana, I can't comment on what you're hearing in Facebook groups or blogs or forums. What one couple experienced isn't necessarily what another couple is going to experience. As I kind of what I just said to Cecilia, I don't think there's any harm in politely asking the department. I just wouldn't get my hopes up. And I wouldn't necessarily expect that you're going to get a response, but it might be worth a try. You also have to understand, if every couple start emailing the departments for requests for information or priority processing, then that's also going to have an influence on everyone that's waiting. So, everyone's in the same boat, everyone's waiting, and the waiting time is the most painful process, most painful period, because you're waiting. There's no contact, there's no transparency, you don't know when it's going to be open. So I understand the frustration and I understand wanting to contact the department, but I've been doing this for a very long time, and in my experience, the majority of those requests go ignored, but it's not going to necessarily jeopardize the application. So whether or not you choose to contact the department is a matter of preference for you as a couple. Princess, thank you for answering my question, man. No worries, Princess. My pleasure. Grace, hi man, thank you so much. You're amazing. Really a godsend. Thanks, Grace. Not a godsend. I try, but I can't say that I'm a godsend. With regards to combined PDF document, do you recommend that I put a table of contents to highlight the case officer? Sure. The more organized you are, let's put it this way, the easier you make the case officer's job, the faster your application will be processed. That's just human nature. And the better evidence is going to be, the less risk you're going to have about a case officer misinterpreting your documentation or missing a document. So sure, attaching a table of contents is not a bad thing. It's not necessarily something that you have to do, but it's not going to hurt your application. Does it matter if my Facebook name and my legal name is different? No, it doesn't matter, but I would clarify that in your relationship statements, and I would potentially be looking to declare that alternative name in the application form. If you're relying heavily on Facebook evidence, Facebook communication and Facebook screenshots of your time together and photos together, then you need to be able to prove that that's you. So one way you can do that, and this was something I mentioned earlier in the stream, is listing that as an alternative name or a different alias that you've had. However, if you do that, they're going to expect that you obtain your police clearances under that name as well. So when you apply for police clearances from Australia and overseas, you need to include any names or other names that you've been known by. Now, typically that includes, let's say, maiden names and married names. But, there's going to be scenarios where, this was brought up before as well, where one document might have their middle name or the other document might not have their middle name and just have their surname. When you apply for police clearances, if you're providing documents that have different names, your police clearances should have all those name variations, because the government want to make sure that if this is all you, if all of these names are you, then your clearances have checked you across all the names, because you might have committed a crime under one name and not under another. And if your clearances only include one name, well, then you haven't really given them a clearance that reflects you as that mirrors the documents that you've given them. So just understand that there's more to it than just your name is legal or different. It doesn't matter. If you're going to be providing documents that have a different name, you got to show it's you, but that might have implications on the clearances that you provide. Monse, perfect, I will do so. Thank you for your response. Okay guys, I might go for a few more. Last question will be Dilpreet Kaira. Just to follow up, I have PR and I'm not usually resident. I haven't lived there since 2017. Therefore, is it better to go onshore and apply for A20? Joanne, is it better? Yes, it's better, because that way you avoid complications around not being usually resident. If you're in Australia, it's easier to argue that you are resident in Australia, that you're usually resident in Australia because you're living here. It would also be advisable to come onshore, live onshore for a certain period of time. There isn't a magical number I can give you, but live here for a certain period of time. Strengthen your connection with Australia, reside here, open up bank accounts, get a joint lease, accumulate mail, then apply onshore. That is better than applying offshore as a permanent resident sponsor that hasn't been here since 2017. Ashwin, hey man, can my partner and I have a tenant living with us while the 12-month period but not have their name on the house registration? Yes, Ashwin, you can have people live with you. Having people live with you doesn't mean you're not in a de facto relationship. I'm on a student and I'm going to extend my visa so I can apply for a dependent visa, and not now this condition also. Can I apply for a dependent visa as well? Suja, I'm just going to try to reread that. I'm on a student and I'm going to extend my visa, and I can apply for a dependent visa or not. And now this condition, I also apply for a dependent visa. Sujan, I'm very sorry, I'm not sure I'm understanding the question. Please feel free to ask again in the group. You can post separately and we'll try to get to that question once we've clarified exactly what you're asking. Okay, last question, Dilpreet. Martin Salvo, hi, I applied for A20 in January 2019. I gave all documents like civil partnership, already completely 12 months requirement. I'm just wondering, do they contact me if they need extra documents? I live with her family, so I don't have lease agreement. How can I prove I'm living with family? Do they contact you to request additional relationship evidence? Not necessarily, Dilpreet. It's within the discretion of a department case officer to make a decision based on what they have in front of them when they pick up the file. That's why it's always advisable to attach additional supporting documentation evidence every few months to an application. That's what we do for our client cases. In terms of, how else can you prove you're living with her family? I've covered that in other questions in tonight's stream, but just to, I suppose, reiterate, statements from her friends or her family, mail that links you to that address, preferably joint bank accounts for you and your partner that show that you pay her parents' board and rent. Those really are the key, let's say, most common types of evidence that can be provided for couples to prove that they live with their family or live with one of the families. Okay, one more. Georgina snuck it in. Hi, man, is it okay to get married while on a bridging visa de facto? Georgina, I covered that in earlier in the stream. That is a much more complex question than what you're asking. Please, once the replay is available, so once this stream ends, please go back through the replay. I do cover it in a lot more detail. Just to quickly give you some guidance, if you had a registered relationship as a civil union prior to application or during processing, and you're trying to waive the 12-month rule from your assessment, getting married voids the civil union, which therefore means the department can reimpose the 12-month rule against you, which is something you want to avoid. There is a video on YouTube, Georgina. Please search on YouTube, Partner Visa Secrets 12-month rule. It's one of our Partner Visa Secrets episodes. And I talk about the 12-month rule. I talk about civil unions in that video. Please watch that video. I promise you that will explain things better. But please also watch the replay of tonight's live. I can't remember exactly where during the live it happened, but this question was asked previously and I did cover it.